I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell blamed the Biden administration for inflation on the Senate floor Wednesday. McConnell said that these rising costs are a, quote, crushing blow to rural America. This comes as the Consumer Price Index report showed that the rate of inflation in April slowed for the first time in 8 months. Here's more from the Kentucky Republican.
The country just received yet another terrible inflation report. Yet again, overall inflation came in higher than expected, 8.3%. Inflation continues to stick right around its worst level in 40 years. The measure the Bureau of Labor Statistics calls core inflation increased in April by twice as much as it increased in March. Food costs are way up. Housing costs are way up once again. President Biden has presided over one of the most expensive years for working families in modern American history. The national average gas price is the highest it has ever been in the history of our country. Americans are paying an average of $4.33 per gallon for regular. Diesel has also hit a record high. It's now $5.62 per gallon. A huge blow to Americans with trucks, with tractors, to small businesses and family farms. And of course, it forces up the price of practically everything that travels on a truck to reach the scene of a store or a supermarket. Inflation on top of inflation. In my home state, Kentuckians are paying 34% more for propane, 112% more for home heating oil than they were paying when Democrats took control of the government. So let me say that again. The price of home heating oil has more than doubled since President Biden took office. A crushing blow to rural America, especially in states like Pennsylvania, Vermont, and New Hampshire. So Democratic policies have fueled this runaway inflation. Their mistakes are why inflation has hit America much harder than other developed countries. Expert calculations say Democrats' $2 trillion spending spree last March is directly responsible for as much as 3 percentage points of our current inflation. Even the prominent Democratic economist Jason Furman puts the number at 2.5%. If just one Senate Democrat had the courage to vote with Republicans in March of 2021, inflation today would be closer to 5% instead of almost 8.5%. Steve Ratner was a top economic advisor to President Obama. He says the Democrats' $2 trillion disaster will, quote, go down in history as an extraordinary policy mistake that put us way behind the curve on inflation. That's Steve Ratner, top economic advisor to President Obama. Everyone knows where this inflation came from, but President Biden just can't seem to admit it. He just makes excuses that no one is buying. Listen to the Democrat political advisor, David Axelrod. He said, quote, Biden was saying, you know, everything is Putin's price hikes. Inflation is Putin's fault. People simply don't believe that, according to David Axelrod. They know that we had inflation before this. They know that gas prices were high before this. You can't blame everything in the economy on Putin, end quote. David Axelrod. So it is this president and his all-Democratic government who've drained American families' pocketbooks. And every poll Every poll shows our citizens understand that sad reality all too well. Now, in another matter, today on the Senate floor, Democrats will prove their party has been totally captured by the far-left fringe. My colleague, the Democratic leader, controls the schedule. He decides what we vote on. From inflation to border crisis to violent crime, there's no shortage of problems that deserve attention. But alas, today, Democrats have decided to line up behind an extreme and radical abortion policy. Our Democrat colleagues want to vote for abortion on demand through all 9 months until the moment before the baby is born. A failed show vote that will only prove their own extremism. Democrats' radical bill is as extreme gets. It ignores modern science. It is tone deaf to public opinion. Nothing about their bill merely codifies the current case law on this issue. Their extreme proposal goes way beyond codifying the status quo. It would roll back many existing laws. Democrats' bill would functionally allow elective abortion through all 9 months, abortion until the moment of birth. We are currently one of only 7 countries worldwide that allow elective abortion after 20 weeks. Puts us in a group with China and North Korea. This bill would take us to an even more extreme and darker place. Only 19% of Americans believe abortion should be legal in most or all cases into the 3rd trimester. Only 19% of the American people. But 97% of House and Senate Democrats have co-sponsored this bill that would have exactly that effect. 97% of Washington Democrats stand with the most radical 19% of the country. Almost half the Senate is about to walk the plank for a position that fewer than 1 in 5 Americans actually support. In addition to 9 months of functional abortion on demand, the Democrats' extreme bill would roll back basic health and safety regulations. It would roll back overwhelmingly popular safeguards, such as waiting periods and informed consent laws. Parental notification would likely go out the window as well. Democrats would even rule out restrictions on sex-selective abortions. And their legislation takes direct aim at conscience protections and religious freedoms that protect Americans of faith who practice medicine. So let's sum it up. This legislation would allow abortions of viable babies in the 9th month with no waiting period or informed consent at the hands of a non-physician. Taxpayers could be forced to pay for it, and Catholic hospitals would be forced to perform it. Democrats could not have written more extreme legislation. They have let fringe activists lead them far away from the American people. More than 60% of Americans support 24-hour waiting periods and requiring that doctors have admitting privileges. Even majorities of self-identified Democrats actually support those things. But Washington Democrats want to roll them back. Only 19% of Americans want abortions to be entirely or mostly legal into the 3rd trimester. But 97% of Washington Democrats back this bill. Democrats are melting down because the Supreme Court may uphold a Mississippi law that would limit abortion after 15 weeks. That law would still be more liberal than the abortion laws in Switzerland, Germany, or France. Today's Democratic Party is extreme on an international scale. So, Madam President, it is chilling that anybody would write legislation like this in 2022. It's even more disturbing that 97% of Washington Democrats have put their names on this. But the American people need to see, what the far left has become. So I'm glad the Senate will vote today. We will stand with the American people, stand with innocent life, and block the Democrats' extreme bill.